Hey, large format photography fans, it's been a while. It is week 25. I haven't posted a video of my project since week 18. So I've got 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and then this week is 25. And I'm gonna kind of go backwards here. We're gonna start with week 25. I'm gonna show you what I'm doing here. It's Father's Day this weekend, so the shoot is kind of a special one for me. And then I'm going to go backwards up through week 19. Just got so darn busy. I still continue to take photos once a week, process them, scan them. I've got everything all taken care of. And I've done a few videos, but I just haven't put them together. And I think I'm just going to summarize everything back through week 19. And then next week is week 26, which is halfway through the year. And we're going to probably try to do something special for that. But for week 25, being Father's Day, we're going to shoot kind of a macro studio setup on this camera right here, which is it's a Kodak Retina. I believe it's a 1A. Yep, 1A. It's a camera and light meter. It's an old Sauna incident meter that my dad bought when he was in the service in Germany in the 1950s. I don't know the exact year. And I think it was probably used when he bought it. It's a Kodak, and it even says made in Germany. So I'm not sure if it was new or used when he got it, but it's been around for a long time. It's been in our family forever. I can remember my dad taking pictures with this camera, definitely into the 70s, probably into the early 80s. He was still using this camera. So he'd been using it for probably close to 30 years. It's probably documented all my birth, my two sisters, and God knows every other family vacation and special event between 1950 whatever and 1981. And it's really kind of the camera that got me really interested in photography at a young age. And a lot had to do with the light meter and the settings, and I was just fascinated by it. My dad died about 15 years ago, and I have all of his cameras, but this one's really special to me. And when I got it, I've probably had it for 20 years or more, the shutter wasn't working. So I found a place online about 10 years ago or so that specialized in the repair of the shutters for these old Kodak Retinas. He was in New Zealand. I boxed it up, talked to him on email a couple of times. I boxed it up, I shipped it to him. He got it within about a week or so. Tore it all apart, did a CLA on the shutter. He sent me back an email, said everything's working great, camera's in great shape, cleaned everything, got the shutter, timing and everything is all set. He said, you should be in good shape. I'm gonna ship it back to you. I don't know what happened. It took 6 months for this camera to finally get back to me. I'd written it off as lost. Finally, it arrives one day. Out of the blue, it shows up. Here it is. Perfect condition. I had no idea where it was for 6 months. I envisioned it sitting in some mail depot in New Zealand or somewhere. Kind of fell out of a box and shoved in a corner, and somebody picked it up one day and sent it on its way. I have no idea. Got the camera back. Works fantastic. I've run several rolls of film through it. My son actually used it on his BFA final project. He took a lot of photos with vintage cameras and did all the darkroom work and everything with it. So it's had 3 generations of Lundstroms have been touching this camera. So I'm going to do a macro on it today. I'm going to kind of get set up with the large format here, get dialed in real nice and close, and get a real nice up close and personal picture of a very special camera. And then following this will be the previous weeks. I'll probably just put the photos up in sequence of when I shot them. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started here. I'll probably set this up on a time lapse and keep shooting that large format. And that's that. So let's go develop some film and let's see what we got. Hey there, YouTubers. Catching up here a little bit. Week 19 was kind of a bust. I did get a photo, but I didn't put it into video form. It was really nothing I was proud of, I guess. Week 20 is in progress. That should have already dropped by now. We're up to week 21 here. I'm actually going to kill 2 birds this weekend. It's Memorial Day weekend. It's going to be week 21 and 22. I am up here at my cabin in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Just pulled in. I had about a 5-hour drive from my house to get up here. Pulling in my lane here. I've got about a half-a-mile drive or a quarter-mile drive from the road back to the camp. I see a few mosquitoes out flying around my truck. I kind of figured that might be the case, although I've seen them really bad up here on Memorial Day, and it doesn't look anything like that. So we got some work to do up here at the cabin this weekend just to kind of get things opened up for the summer. And then photography. Going to be taking a lot of photos. Got a 8x10 along, a couple of 35 millimeters along, but we'll get into that later. So right now, let's enjoy a nice little drive back to the camp, and I'll show you around. So here we go, just past the gate. Like I said, it's just about a quarter of a mile or so off the road here. A little 2-lane or 2-track dirt road back into here. It's got a lot of rock. You really can't see it because it's covered by leaves, but even if it's wet, it's a pretty solid drive. There's been a lot of gravel and a lot of rock put on this lane over the years. It seems to be fairly dry up here. The Forest Service did have signs out said that the fire danger was extremely high, and that's just because it's been dry for one, and you still got a lot of dead vegetation on the ground from the winter. Things haven't fully greened up yet. As you can see, the trees are just starting to pop here. I think we'll be okay. Should be a nice weekend. It's always fun coming up to the cabin for the first time after a while. I haven't been here since December. Yeah, I mean, it's since December. There was a lot of snow in the winter. I didn't really make it up like I wanted to. I usually try to get up in February. At any rate, should be a good trip. Let's see what's going on here at the cabin. Looks like everything's just still intact, which is always good to see when I first pull in because it's been a while since I've been here. At any rate, we're going to go ahead and unpack, do some mowing, and do some photography. Oh, there she is. Lawn's all mowed. Took about a half hour. The mosquitoes, surprisingly, are not that bad right now. I've seen them on Memorial Day weekend up here where you don't want to come outside. They are that bad. They're just so thick. Got a bit of a humpback thing going on here with my picnic table. I'll do some work on that, I can see. But what is bad is these little black flies that seem to like to gather around your eyes and ears. But even they're not terrible. I've certainly seen them a lot worse. I can see why the fire danger is very high or extremely high right now. It is bone dry out here, surprisingly, considering the amount of snow they had last winter. I mean, record snowfalls. So I guess the spring rains haven't come yet. It's just bone dry out here. So I guess that's a good thing for us. It keeps the bugs down for a little while. Let me show you around a little bit. This is the cabin. Nothing special. 24 by 24. It's just out in the middle of the Ottawa National Forest, basically. I've got about 15 acres here. Little outhouse back there, my wood shed. There's probably a video somewhere out there of me building that. Generator box. I do have a drilled well in here, so I can get water. It is very, very irony. Lots of iron in the water. This is Iron County, Michigan, and it's aptly named. So I brought some fuel up here. We can run the generators. We can get some lights if we want it. This is the Sauna House. I haven't been in here yet, so hopefully there's no critters that have taken up residence since last winter. Welcome to the sauna. Beware of bear sightings. Yeah, that could happen, I guess. Here she is on the inside. Nice little, some silhouette targets. Got a shooting bench, a sled. And there's the actual sauna room. It's a nice little building. Stove. You can get her nice and warm in here. I keep some mothballs in here to try to keep the critters out. Seems to do a pretty good job. We'll probably fire this up later. I'm sweating pretty good right now, so I'm sure I will need a bath of some sort coming up here. I'm going to leave that open, let that air out a little bit. Lots of wildflowers around already. I don't know if these are trilliums or what they are. Pretty little things, almost look like daylily kind of flowers, but I don't think they are. I'm pretty sure they're trilliums. There's quite a few of them around. Some white ones back here. Not sure what these are. Maybe that's a trillium. I don't know. If you're a botanist or a flower person, let me know what they are. There's some that are about to bloom. Just beautiful. The whole forest floor is just covered in these little wildflowers right now. Generator box. Let's go inside the cabin here. Got rid of a couple of couches. I brought up a couple new ones, or new old ones, I should say, last fall. Took these out. They were just a little too small. The bigger ones, the new ones, we can actually sleep on, which is kind of nice. So we can get more people in here. We got 4 bunks, and then you could get one there, one in that chair, a couple on the floor. I mean, we could probably sleep 10 people in here if we had to, which would be fun. An old TV. Nothing special, like I said. It's just off the grid, home away from home. I bring a TV up here. I do get pretty good cell service, so I can actually tap into my hopper and my dish at home. And if we wanted to watch the local news or something, we could do that. A propane stove. I bring water up here. I do have a system I set up a few years ago where I put a tank underneath here and I can pump water. I found when I only come up for a couple days, I just use bring a little water with, and I'll take that up into town and fill it up. I have a microwave. We do have lights. If we have the generator going, we can use lights. Otherwise, it's propane lights. I've got 4 of those in here. And then outside on the porch here, got a probably 1930s or 40s vintage propane refrigerator, which works really well. It's actually probably more of a freezer than a refrigerator because it gets really cold in there, and it'll freeze stuff in the middle of the summer. So this time of year, I'll just probably start it up, get it cold, and then we'll turn it off. It's conserve gas, and then I'll maybe start it up for a few hours, let it get cold again, and then we'll shut her off again. It's pretty well insulated. So that's the nickel tour. I'm gonna go ahead and get cleaned up a little bit here, and we'll get at it. This is one thing that I love probably more than anything when I come up north, and that's cruising the back roads. About 10-15 miles an hour, these 1-lane gravel roads through the forest. See a lot of wildlife, see a lot of interesting things out here. I like to go out maybe an hour and a half before sunset and just kind of cruise. And you'd be surprised what kind of animals are moving out here. Deer, bear, porcupines, you name it. We've seen it all. So tonight, that's what I'm doing. It's about 7:30. Sunset's about 8:30. This little road here is highway or Forest Road 3920. It's a couple miles from my cabin. Just like to come out here and cruise, and then I'm going to head up on the old US 2 and head west and head over towards Watersmeet. And yeah, it's just lots of great stuff to see out here. And there's just nothing, for me, there's nothing better than cruising the back roads in the evening and looking for photo opportunities. Of course, I've got cameras along, but it's really not the main purpose of my drive. It's more just to go out and see what's going on, see where they've been logging over the winter, see what's changed since last time I was up here. And usually it's not much, but I'll come back on if I see something interesting. But this is probably the next couple hours of my night is going to be just kind of cruising these back roads nice and slow. Morning. Saturday morning, week 20. Out here at a little lake. It's right off the highway here, but it's a picturesque little lake. It's called Sunset Lake. It's uninhabited. There's no development around it at all. I've come down here and done a few pictures before. I think you might see a fisherman out here every once in a while, but other than that, I've never really seen anybody out here. I'm gonna come out here this morning. I'm gonna try to take a nice photo. There's some really good clouds. See if what kind of wide angle I can get on this thing. Let me turn around here and show you. There's the lake. The sky above it. So, like I said, some really nice clouds out there this morning. I might throw a polarizer or maybe a red filter. I don't know. We'll put something on there. I'm going to try to get a nice shot, nice panoramic or a nice landscape of this. I don't usually do landscapes, but this is a really nice scene. So let's set this up and let's give it a shot. And there we go. Actually, I said week 21, but it's actually week 22. Got a nice close-up on those logs. Been wanting to do something like this for a while. Should make for an interesting photo. So let's get to the darkroom and develop. Hello there. Week 19 already. Working in the studio on a rainy, cloudy, it's actually kind of warm today, but it's some thunderstorms, some rain. Fortunately, I picked this dandelion last night before the rain. It did wilt, so I had to stick a wire up through the stem to make it stand up, but it seems to be working okay. Week 19, I'm going to be working on something I've never done on 8x10 before, and I've just kind of been getting it set up here. We're going to do some macro photography. I want to fill the entire frame with the head of that dandelion. I'm probably going to pick a few stems or a few seeds off there. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do. I'm just getting her kind of set. But what I've got on here is a lens for my 4x5. It's a 90 millimeter. As you can see from the bellows extension, it's considerably more than 90 millimeters. So I'm going to have to do some calculations there for my exposure to compensate for the bellows extension. What I found, even though this lens does not cover a full 8x10, at the macro setting, it seems like it does. And really what I want is that big head of that dandelion pod or seeds right in the center of the frame, taking up the entire thing. So even if it is clipped a little bit at the corners, I'm going to have a black background. I'm going to probably put a snoot on my light here, so I've got light focused just on the head. Everything in the background should be black, so I end up with this really nice white seed pod. I'm going to try to stop the lens down as much as possible, because obviously when you're working in macro, you end up with these razor thin depth of field. So I'm going to try to, I think this is an f64 lens. Yes. So I think what I'm going to try to do is shoot hopefully at f64. So I can maximize that depth of field. So I'm going to try to figure out where I need to focus to get the most depth of field. I'm about 3.5 inches away from the front of the seed head, and that part is in focus. Everything beyond that drops off really quick to blur, and everything in the background is mush. It's just completely black, and that's really what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and mess around here and try to get this set up and get that focus just right. I think I'm going to be shooting Delta 100 because I want a really fine grain. Because this is going to be such a close-up and I want such fine detail in there. I think I'm going to use Delta 100, a little bit finer grain film. We'll see how it goes. I've never worked with macro before. When I first started setting this up, I was doing a few things where I was trying to use a different lens, a 300 millimeter lens, and I was flipping it around. Similar to what you do on an SLR, like with a 50 millimeter, you can turn that lens around and make it basically a macro. I just didn't have the bellows extension to make that work on this camera. The Burke & James might have been closer because I got a little more bellows there, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to try this 90 millimeter. It's the shortest lens I have for large format, and see what that does. And so far, I've been real happy with the way it's fallen in there. And this lens is tack sharp, so I'm really looking forward to some awesome results here. So I'm going to go ahead and continue working on the setup here, and we're going to take a photo here real quick. And there's our setup. I think I'm aptly going to call this socially distant. I've picked off all the seed heads I can, except for two. I left right on top of the head, and they're kind of leaning apart from each other, a little bit of distance. I guess if we were to scale them up, they're probably 6 feet apart if they were life size or human size. So I'm going to call this socially distant. Morning out here at Ferguson Forest Preserve this morning. Beautiful morning. Had a nice little frost last night. So we kind of chilly out here, but it's warming up nicely. The sun is out, not a cloud in the sky. Just a fantastic morning to be out here. Ferguson Forest Preserve, Sherland, Illinois. It's a newer forest preserve. A lot of wetlands, lowlands along the Sugar River bottoms here. This is right where the Sugar River and meets up with the Pecatonica River, moves on to the Rock River, about another 10 miles down the road. But just gorgeous out here this morning. In a little bit of a ditch here, if you can see behind me here. Got the camera set up. I'm going to try to capture that reflection right down in that area of this little tree. There's some nice contrast with the water and the tree. Using a new lens I've never used on this, on 8x10 at all. I'm using it on the Intrepid today. It's an older Kodak. It's Kodak Ektar 10-inch commercial Ektar. It's a great lens. I've used it on 4x5 many times. Doesn't quite cover a full 8x10, so it's going to have some clipping in the corners. But I intend to crop this in a little bit anyhow. So I'm gonna go ahead and try the lens out, see what we get. So I'm gonna go ahead and get set up here and take a photo and see what happens.